everybody evaluated this guy early, knew they wanted him early, and they stayed on him, and they will stay on him.
Hello, everyone. Welcome into the TexAgs Rewind presented by Specs, four-time National Retailer of the Year. I am David Nuño. I'm here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Cade Bickham is behind the glass. Cade, I'm going to ask you what you learned on the show today.
Ooh, let's see. What did I learn on the show today? I learned that, I learned that everybody wants Ted Burton to stay at first base, even though I think if we're going to put Jace in the lineup, he should DH and Schott should go there because he can't run.
So you learned that you have an opinion and you share it instead of actually learning information that you learned, correct?
Correct. Okay. Something like that, yeah.
Carson, I'm sure you learned something.
I learned that right field is harder to play than left field.
I don't know if I believe that, even though
we have experts that said
the
it.
best baseball minds were telling me that, but bro, how many Little League teams have put the worst player in right field? That's just how you have to look at it. All right, tell us what's on the rewind today, Mr. Cade Bickham.
Well, we had Olin Buchanan and Richard Zane in the Go Hour.
Yep.
We had Ryan Brauninger live from Omaha. Very nice.
Very nice.
Jason Howell in studio talking some recruiting. Doesn't happen very often. Then Kendall Rogers on the phone from Omaha.
On a mobile. That and more. It's TexAgs Rewind. Check it. Tell me about because we got some baseball to get into here in a second, but just not a lot has changed since yesterday, since the game did not happen. Can you feel the attendance get a little bit more Aggie maroonish out there?
I mean, I thought A&M has always had a pretty good showing out here, even since the entire event started. We were here 2 years ago, right? And A&M didn't, when the season started, they didn't necessarily expect to be here, but they went on an incredible run and essentially slugged their way to Omaha in 2022. Season started, A&M was a top 10 team. They were top 10 team all year long. They got all the way up to number one. It felt almost as if the 12th man expected to be here from opening day on. So there's been a ton of maroon around town, right? They didn't start playing here until Saturday, but we got here Wednesday and Thursday. Friday, you saw a bunch of Aggies around Omaha. And yeah, I think that if you can look at the Jello shot board and see that A&M's got quite the contingency here and quite the showing. So it's definitely been a tinted maroon showing in Omaha, Nebraska.
How many Jello shots have you bought? And have you tried to expense them?
I've bought none. How many have I consumed? A couple. It's greater than zero.
We're wrapping up the athletic calendar for the 2023-2024 season at Texas A&M. Name me a coach that's been better than him. I mean, women's tennis?
Mark Weaver.
Mark Weaver? Okay, yeah, I'll listen to that because he's a national champion. But everybody else on campus, I think if I would go Mark Weaver 1 because of what he won, I'd go Max Wiener 1A. Because of what he inherited and what he's done with it and brought them to this national stage where they're playing in a Final Four after setting a school record for walks by a large margin last year.
Talking to Ryan Brauninger, who is live in Omaha. Bronny, interesting question for you. Who's been the postseason MVP? And before you answer that, if you even have an answer, the brilliant part of this question is there's an argument to be made for several people, and it's not even talking about your two All-Americans potentially.
No, I think if you're postseason MVP, Caden Schott, I think Caden Kent has had the more memorable moments, but Hayden Schott has been the most consistent. And remember, he had that awful game against Texas where he was ready to bury himself alive. I talked to him that next day, and he said there was not a person in the world more happy that we won that game than I was, because had we not, I would have been in a really rough spot. And he shakes it off. And he has the rocket against Louisiana that gets caught. And that could have been more frustration, but he just kind of kept going. He hits the homer in that regional final. Then he was the super regional MVP, and he's gotten, he just keeps collecting hits here in Omaha. So I think postseason MVP for me right now would be Hayden Schott, but there's still games left for somebody else to come up, or he can either submit that or somebody else can come take it from him. But Caden Kent, you'd have to put right on his heels.
Yeah.
Keati
Armstrong.
Huh. He's a pretty big deal, I hear.
Yeah. Top 10 player in the state.
Yeah.
Big win over.
And he's an athlete.
Yeah.
I mean, he's listed as tight end, but he can play multiple.
We list him as an athlete just because, he walks in the room and you're like, okay.
This dude can play football.
Well, where do you want to play? Oh, yeah, you're there. All right, we got a spot just for you,
Yeah.
sir. No, yeah, 6'6", 250 pounds right now. I saw him at a 7-on-7, just running around, running routes, catching the ball one-handed.
Yep.
He is a highly skilled, just phenomenal athlete, and he's just scratching the surface.
Is he?
And it's not a knock on the coaching out there, because Jasper, man, they do some things out there at that
Sure.
program. Don't get it wrong. They're doing some big things out there, but especially at the smaller schools, and when you have an athlete like that, I mean, you want to play some? Get out there. You can help us at defensive end. You can help us at tight end. We can move you around. We can do
Right.
Yeah, and so sometimes you miss out on some of that specialized coaching, because you are asked to do so much that you don't get to necessarily focus. But yeah, he's a guy that he's gonna really be an asset to this class. He sends a message. When he committed, that's a big win over Texas, LSU.
Yeah.
Everybody evaluated this guy early, knew they wanted him early, and they stayed on him, and they will stay on him. He's going to be a guy you're going to have to hold on to. But absolutely, huge win. Send a message across the state and country.
Talking to Kendall Rogers, D1 Baseball here on TexAgs Radio. Kendall, let's talk about Hayden Schott and how hot he has been for this team, because you mentioned if they could put him out in the outfield. Offensively, he has been so nails, especially since that Texas game.
Yeah, the thing I like about this team a lot right now is every single time you kind of think, okay, like this injury, that injury, this situation, like they've got to take a step back. And that hasn't happened. You looked at up and down the lineup, Hayden's hitting over 600 in conference play in postseason action, I believe. And then Kent, the job that he's done has been remarkable. Sometimes I think Jim mentioned this after Braden got hurt, but he said sometimes when you're kind of forced into action, you kind of play your highest level because you're basically forced to play your highest level. And he's had really good at bats. Kent's gotten big hits. I thought one of the sneaky, impressive things that he did there tonight was, he had to move to third base after Jace got hurt. And, I can tell you, like, moving from second to third is a big difference. And, he had one play over there that he had to make. He made it and actually made a really strong throw over first. I actually made the comment to Bronny that I didn't realize that Kent had that strong of an arm. And so, I've been really impressed with what he's done, especially in that situation.
So knowing that it's not for sure Florida, it's super early, but could be Florida based on the score, right? As you mentioned, do you think Brad Rudis gets to start later on tonight?
That would be my hunch. I don't know how much I like Rudis matching up with Florida, but that would be my hunch at this point. Here's the other question. Here's what I was thinking about earlier. Does Schloss roll with like a Caden Wilson? A guy that, that he's had moments this year where it has not been very pretty, but you think back to the Oregon Super, and he comes in with bases loaded and finds a way out. I kind of wonder if that moment was kind of a turning point for Caden Wilson. You're talking about a lefty, up to 94, 95 with pretty good breaking stuff. It's Tadeo-esque in the velo and things like that.
Carson Stein, I want you in the most giggly, happy way. Tell the people what to do.
I'm not going to do all that. Like, comment, subscribe.
Why can't
share.
you be giggly? Why not?
I'm a serious person.
No, but I want you to get out of character. Like, I want you to push the boundaries of life. Go ahead, try.
Like it, comment it, subscribe it.
You're just louder. No, I want giggly.
That's as giggly as you're getting.
I want you to like it. Like that. Just try that.
That's as giggly as you're getting.
I guess you won't ask another question on recruiting country. See you next time.